Welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks, your secret weapon to protect your assets and never have to start over financially again. Vance and Seth help high net worth individuals, families, business owners, and investors structure an asset-protected, tax-free fortress for their families. Learn how to keep what you earn and use the velocity of money to create your own private banking system. Join us on this journey as we explore the secret strategies of the rich and political elite and help you take total control of your financial security. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks. Vance, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to pulling everything together and showing people how they can extend this not only to themselves, but to future generations.
Yeah, the impact of a family wealth plan and a stewardship over multiple generations, I think is something that a lot of people don't consider. And other people do consider, and especially those who come into success and have some prosperity. How do they steward that and manage that over time? That's a question that we've seen families handle very differently. And I don't think there's a better example of how to do it right and how to do it wrong than when you look at the Rockefeller family versus the Vanderbilt family.
We like to talk about the success, which would be the Rockefellers, because they have such a good ongoing philosophy that has stood the test of time. They're successful. So that's what I would want to learn all about, how I could benefit if I'm family oriented, if I've got extended family or whatever else. How am I going to structure independence as far as money goes, get the least amount of taxes, and be able to renew this to my future generations successfully like the Rockefellers have.
Yeah. Funny, I always ask my kids, I got good news, I got bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? And one of my kids is always good news, and one of them is always bad news. So good news is the Rockefeller wealth strategy is the good news. The bad news is if you don't pay attention, you'll fall into the Vanderbilt category. And so I'm going to adopt for a moment my kid's strategy who likes to hear bad news first. Let's talk about the Vanderbilts, Vance. Everybody knows the Vanderbilt University in Tennessee, a prestigious Southern school. The Vanderbilt name is one that came to fame in the 1800s with the original patriarch making over $100 million in the 1800s and bequeathing that great wealth to his children. What were his children like?
It seemed like they developed an attitude of superiority. My dad is successful, therefore I'm successful. Therefore, everything we touch is successful. And it actually caused problems because each kid had their own personalities, let's call them, and they did not have any structure. Mr. Vanderbilt, we'll call him, made all the money. He was a genius at what he did and totally successful, but he failed to set up an infrastructure to continue that, to be able to provide that for his children. I guess he felt like he wasn't going to die because the story is told that he didn't have anything set up other than to pass the wealth to his family. And now all of a sudden they get a huge sum of money. And I've seen this part in my life when dealing with death in client families of how they deal with money. If they're structured, if they've been taught something, they know how to deal with it. Those are the families that benefit from the death benefit. If you are not prepared to receive a large sum of money, you think you know what to do with it. Everybody thinks they know how money works, but they don't. If you will accept that I really don't know how money works, and are willing to learn how it does, it'll change your life. You've already passed through so much money. And if we're middle age or whatever else, we've still got a ways to go. If we correct that, we can have a much better future than we had in our past. So I've watched them go through wealth like crazy and literally destroy their lives. And without getting into a lot of detail with the unsuccessful family here, these guys just, they blew up. You can read all kinds of things. It became disaster.
It's interesting because I believe that there was an expansion of the original wealth that the patriarch created by one of his sons, and who was left, I think, most of the wealth. And then 3 generations thereafter, they had effectively squandered and wasted much of the wealth. And there's a common proverb that says 3 generations, the patriarch makes the wealth, the second maintain, and then the third actually loses and squanders if they're not taught how to steward the wealth, and if they're not given structure. I mean, Vance, when you get on to a freeway with 6 or 7 lanes and a HOV lane and a mixed master, which is going 17 different ways, and Dallas is full of them. I hate driving in Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
The little lines on the road, those are like the rules and the speed limit. Those rules in mixed masters and 6-lane highways, they're super important. Everybody stays in their lane, goes the speed limit so that nobody dies. Well, with great wealth, there has to be some very structured lanes, marks on the highway, directions that we go, road maps that are followed. And that is effectively epitomized by the other family that we described, the Rockefellers, right? And the Rockefellers, they have a generational wealth transfer strategy that became commonly known as the Rockefeller Waterfall Method. And it's an approach that, instead of building the largest estates in the country like the Biltmore estate, they're designed to preserve and grow their assets across generations while they minimize taxes and protect the asset.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel like you are generating a lot of revenue but are not moving forward as fast as you would like? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Can you tell us about the Rockefellers?
See, the Rockefellers were taught this strategy. I mean, they were right in, the middle of America becoming the most wealthy country on the planet using these life insurance contracts. And they were all over it. They put these things in existence. They might be a little more sophisticated by using some trusts and stuff, but the general essence was that the older generation would manage, have these big insurance contracts on themselves, and when they died, that death benefit would come into the family, into the trust. It wouldn't be delved out as money to individual people. It went right back into the family's trust, and it did 2 things. It paid down outstanding loans, and it provided additional cash to fund the youngest generation of family. The great grandkids out there, they would fund policies on the younger generation. So when the older generation passed, all that death benefit came in to benefit the family and keep the family structure, and bought insurance on the youngest generation. So if you can picture this, folks, the next generation steps in. They have a complete procedure protocol. They have to manage the structure or they lose it. And that's how the Rockefeller Baron himself structured it. You have to maintain this. You have to vote people out. If they don't follow, they're done. If you decide you want to dissolve it, then you lose control and it goes someplace else. The family actually loses the money. So you have to maintain it. There's a lot of incentive to maintain that. But waterfall, Seth, is meant is that the death benefit completely replenished a lot of the process, or added a lot more money into the family. They had to keep the money in the family. It was a philosophy. In other words, you don't go to a restaurant, you don't go buy a vehicle, you don't go shop at a mall unless the family owned that establishment.
And the structure, I think that's the key aspect of it, is it's a management structure that's set in place by the originators, the patriarch, the founders of the system. And those are the lines on the highway. Those are the roadways in the mixed master. And that structured management forms effectively like a family constitution. And you're describing some things that, certain families have set up, like if there's a poison pill, then they go to charity. But I think generally you can you're going to have siblings that have different perspectives, different motivations, different needs. And that's why these governing rules in the family constitution is very important to set up and with the cornerstones, so that people know if you want access to this capital and you want the benefit of family legacy and wealth, you have to play within these rules. And if you don't, okay, go make it yourself. That's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's how you drive safely down the highway with a large corpus of funds like the Rockefellers did. And if you don't, you'll end up looking like the Vanderbilts.
So let's bring this down a level. These are, some of the wealthiest families out there. Let's bring it down to the people who are hearing us today's level. Everything that we talk about that's successful with the Rockefellers, you guys can do. You don't have to be that sophisticated. You start these contracts, you set up a simple system. Instead of giving out an inheritance, you give access to money. You move the death benefits into a trust, and that trust now will lend money to the family members, and they have to pay it back with interest, and then it just continue to grow.
That's right.
From poverty to Rockefeller
Right.
over generations of time. It's that simple. And folks, the beauty of setting this up, outside force can't control it. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it. You're not creating any taxable events. So it's critical. It's just, in our book, we talk about, what the banks don't want us to know, so to speak. Seth will talk about that in a minute. But we need to understand that this was eradicated out of the United States when the banking cartels came in and took over the control of the money and took money out of our control and the education of money away from us. We need to bring that back. It's very, very important. I can't say that enough, how important that the people understand how money works. And the biggest thing is, Nelson Nash said this beautiful, and he's the founder of the Nelson Nash Institute, has a book that we like everybody to read. And there are 5 laws that he has, and one of those is called the arrival syndrome. Americans, unfortunately, are very afflicted with the arrival syndrome. Oh, I've heard about that. I know what that is. And they rat hole information. And then he follows that up with, it's not so much what people don't know about money that's hurting them. It's what they think they know about money that's incorrect that is hurting them.
And in fact, some of these are what we like to call red pill opportunities. And that's a reference to an old movie, The Matrix, of course, where Neo takes the red pill and he's awakened to this alternate universe and reality, and that he's been living in a construct. And that's effectively what we're trying to say and red pill people with our book. And you mentioned that just a moment ago. I think it's a good time to let people know how to get that. You can go to our website at privatebankingstrategies.com, privatebankingstrategies.com, and there you'll see an offer for a book that Vance and I authored called How to Grow Rich with the Secret That Banks Don't Want You to Know. And there you'll have the opportunity to put in your name and your email address, and that book will be made available to you in a PDF or also an audio version. But more importantly, you'll get emails from us that announce our podcast and other valuable content that you can educate yourself with. And if that podcast and these resources resonate with you, schedule a call with Vance at his calendar link, which is available only to you through the emails. And Vance will walk you through ultimately an 8-year plan if you go on this journey with us that tells you and shows you exactly what to do for your family, your financial situation, and how to implement the same strategies that the Rockefellers implemented to create lasting legacy family wealth. Vance, any closing remarks?
No, I just hope people, will create the self-drive to improve their lives, learn more about money, learn how money works. If you go to the right places, we've mentioned them on our podcast, learn, go away with a better understanding learn how compounding works and take advantage of it.
Thanks for joining us, folks, and we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Thank you for listening to the Private Banking Strategies Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.